Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Sith Dominion podcast. I am your host, Dr. Dana Martin, and with me today is Cam and Zane. How are you guys doing?
Well,
good. Zane? Yeah, okay. So,
you're okay.
Zane's in 2007 right now.
Dude, that picture's priceless.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, technology. Man, welcome back. We finished up the Darth Vader stuff and then had an episode last week where we talked about some what if scenarios. Little bit about the what if scenarios because I was, trying to get content for my article. So appreciate everyone's input. Thank you. And the article went out today. So what's up, Andrew? So we will be talking about that because there was a lot of engagement with the posts that I made on my personal page, but also within the Geekdom pages on Facebook that Geek News now runs and operates. And I thought it was great to see that sort of engagement. We got a lot of different what if scenarios, and I'm stoked. This is going to be fun. So what did you guys do this last week? What'd you do, Cameron?
Just visited family. Started reading Fellowship of the Ring, so that's been fun. Not a whole lot, honestly, outside of that.
Zane. All right, he's just he's never
played Overwatch.
Oh, sorry, play Overwatch.
We gotta give him like a 15-second delay.
I know. This is gonna be awesome. Is your phone charged? Yeah. Oh wait, you're not off your phone. You're just using your phone as the camera, right?
It won't let me use my phone.
So confused. All right. So yeah, you played Overwatch. You had a tournament and stuff, or was that completed?
It ended. We lost.
Sorry to hear that. So the Get Good podcast is part of all of that stuff. There was an individual you said that liked Star Wars a little bit that we might try to see if we can get on. Is that correct?
Get him on.
Yes.
Yeah? Sorry, my mic just broke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm totally down with that. I'll give you the email to the show, and he can. I'll shoot him an email. You get his email for me. Always willing to have some guests, especially cross platforms and cross topics. Even we've had teachers on, we've had lawyers on, we've had business owners on. It's always good to get that piece of fandom, but also that real life kind of connection to Star Wars and what Star Wars means in people's lives. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks. So we're going to be breaking down the Sith Code. Peace is a lie. There's only passion. That's the very first piece. I wouldn't say it's a tenet, but it's the first piece of the Sith Code. And we're going to talk about that, what that means and what that means to us, and that how there's some positivity in that and also some negativity in that, et cetera, et cetera. So can't wait. This is going to be fun. Moving on to the what if stuff. So if you go to geeknewsnow.net, you'll see that article that I wrote that is for Star Wars what if. So as I stated, I threw out across a couple of different groups, and some of the stuff I got back was that people would like to see, what if Anakin had the high ground? What if Darth Maul had beat Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon? What if Anakin helped Mace arrest Palpatine? What if Qui-Gon trained Anakin? What if Darth Vader killed Sidious in a fit of rage when he was told about Padme's death? I thought that was an interesting one. So yeah, what would be y'all's number one what if?
What if Luke joins Vader? It's always going to be number one for me.
At what point? What would you want to see? Like in Empire when he first asks him to join, or in Return of the Jedi?
I think probably at Empire when he tells him that he's his father. I think that would have been interesting. I feel like Luke post Empire when he's going through Obi-Wan's hut, looking through texts and stuff, and learning about kind of like his history essentially in the Jedi's history. I don't really see Luke in Return of the Jedi turning to.
Not at that point in his teaching or teachings and learnings. Sure. Yeah, I get that.
I don't think so. So
Zane?
What if Anakin beat Obi-Wan on Mustafar?
Oh, what if Anakin beat Obi-Wan on Mustafar? And we got a little, it wasn't a Lego, it was an animation or something, wasn't it? Within the game?
It was an alternate ending to the Revenge of the Sith game.
There
when
you
it
go.
First came out.
Yeah, what would have happened after that? That would have been cool to see. Kind of.
He kills Sidious, not to cut you off, but that's what happens, and then the game ends.
Is there any mention of Padme at that point either?
I don't think so. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've played it, but I don't think there's any mention of Padme. The Emperor comes down, gives him his lightsaber hilt, and it's red, and then he like tosses it up and then stabs the Emperor, and then it's like, this is my empire now, with some cringe voice acting that they had for the game. But
I mean, because she wasn't dead at that time, and what would that mean for those kids being born under the tutelage of Darth Vader? That might be something, man. What else we got here? What's up, Solo Girl?
Up, Solo and Andrew.
So I wanted to.
What happened?
I have no idea what just happened. I'm going over to my browser and it just kicked us all up. I don't even know if we're broadcasting. Hey, you all yeah. Yeah, I know. Let us know if you can see us. If you can't see us, and you give us something.
Yeah, we're still live.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Nice.
We fixed the glitch. No, I don't know what that was. That wasn't me though. It wasn't me. Yeah. So one of the cool things I think when we as fans can rally behind something and be united, at least in some form or fashion. And I think this is one of those things that there's a lot of folks out there that have their dreams set on seeing stuff like what we're talking about. One of the ones I bring up in the article is, of course, Jar Jar, but the Empire, if they would have won at Endor, like what would that look like? And I think just kind of politically, what's up, Eli? Politically, that whole, I don't know, man. I think it would just be incredible to see how the rebellion would be finally stamped out. So for me, I mean, yes, for the Sith Dominion, but this is gonna be so fun tonight. Okay, we're just gonna move on. The Sith Code. So, I think it's important that we start with why this exists, the Sith Code. And hold on one second. I'm going to pull something up here because there was a dude that wrote some stuff. Okay. So 6900 before the Battle of Yavin is when the Sith Code was created. She was one of the fallen Jedi who was on Korriban during the ginormous nastiness that occurred way back. And what I find interesting about this is when you put the Sith code side by side with the Jedi code, um, it's almost like they're the antithesis of each other, but not really totally opposite of each other. I'm gonna bring them both up and share my screen so we can look at them side by side. So give me a second here. Sorry for being ill prepared. Someone was keeping me playing video games.
They were gaming.
No. All right.
Two games.
All right. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Share the screen. How about just a window? There we go. Okay. Can we see this? Yes. 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 Okay. So, Jedi Code. There is no emotion. There is peace. There is no ignorance. There is knowledge. There is no passion. There is serenity. There is no chaos. There is harmony. There is no death. There is the Force. And then I think we should tag on the Force is with me. What is it? I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me. When we read this and then we read Peace is a lie, there's only passion. Through passion I gain strength. Through strength I gain power. Through power I gain victory. Through victory my chains are broken. The Force shall set me free. Stand alone on either of those. Is there anything inherently good or evil about either?
No.
No. No. So would it be safe to, this is where I start getting on my soapbox. Would it be safe to say that, oh wait, hold on a second, guys. I just realized I'm not Darth Zane. I'm Dr. Dana. Okay. Back to the topic. I know, right? I can't believe I just did that. We are live, right?
Yes, we are. We are.
Inherently, there is no good or evil. It's just a code. It's just a mantra. It's just a way of thinking and an ideology about what the Force is and how the Force is and what the Force is within us and all around us. So when I see the Jedi Code, I don't think, oh, that's for the good people, or the Sith Code, that's for the bad people. When you read these side by side, Zane, what's the first kind of thing that jumps out as this is a huge difference in ideology?
The Jedi Code mostly, it talks about having, it's through the absence of this that this is there.
Oh, I see. So yeah, everything is
only saying there is no versus through. You know,
right. So everything is the absence of.
It's almost. Yeah, it's almost like the Jedi Code is stating only fact. This is the way, while the Sith Code is giving you a cause and effect. Through this happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cam?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I agree with Zane, like, we see it very blatant in the prequels. It's like, with the Jedi Code, there is only one way. Like, there is no gray area in terms of how the Jedi view things and how they want Jedis to act, even if they do act sometimes in ways that they stretch in terms of what Jedi ideals are and all of that. And I think with the Sith, like, we see throughout, like, the story from Legends and current, like, some Sith, like Anakin, try to go to the dark side to gain, like, power, to gain some type of new skill or whatever. And other Sith, like Dooku, fall to the dark side in terms of an ideal perspective, right? And so but in the end, like all of the Sith, they eventually kind of fall victim to the power that like the dark side gives them, right?
Mhm.
That's where I think at the end where it's like my chains are broken. It's like
Mhm.
that's when they're like the force frees me, but now like I eventually will assert my power on the force and let the force essentially bend to my will, you know. So
There's an assumption, I think, or an implication of a certain amount of brokenness. When I read the Sith Code, I read a person, alien, what have you. I see that as trying to make a change. I see it as, in a very positive way, I can't just sit here and not have emotion. I can't now. Decision making. It's good to remove emotion for. I'm not. I'm not. Not talking
yeah,
about that. I'm talking about just in the presence of these two things stand alone. It seems to me you have to be broken or seeking something to fall in aligned with the Sith code. Because what chains are you speaking about? What strength, what passion do you have that you're trying to gain strength? Why are you doing this? And then at the end, the force shall set me free from what? So it seems that there's going to be a certain level of pain involved with those falling within the column of the Sith code, and I'll let you guys uh, dissent if you'd like, but I think an example of that is the Darth Vader. I mean, he was broken and had to search out to get what he needed to fix himself. And the only way to do that was not by the way of the Jedi, who's just to sit back and not be passionate and pursue those things, but no, I need to use my passion. It's going to give me strength and it's going to give me power, which is going to allow me to finally see the end. Um, I don't know. Agree, disagree?
I mean, I kind of agree in the same sense, but I don't necessarily think like um I mean, I kind of agree. I just for me like if I don't know cuz like the Jedi had what Anakin wanted. Like they had the tools to um give like the Jedi archives, right? If he just,
Mm-hmm.
sits in the council chambers and waits like, they kill Chancellor Palpatine whatever. But I think once uh I don't know. I mean, I was gonna say I disagree with you, but I kind of agree on the Vader sense, but I don't know.
Yeah. It just
I
there's a seeking, whether that's because of a brokenness or not. There's definitely some sort of I'm trying to attain something other
because
than this.
he was manipulated in a way too, right? Like Palpatine was manipulating him and almost because like he never really outright says, "I know how to save your wife." It's like through
Mhm.
me, only we can find out together, right?
Yes.
And it's like I feel like at that point he's so corrupted, and then obviously when he gets his injuries and all of that, and you know Palpatine tells him Padme's dead, he's like, well, now this figure's all I have. This guy's all I have left. Like now I have to almost abide by what he wants me to do, you
Yeah.
know. And I think, but then he falls more in line. Like he eventually falls further into the dark side because he's like, this gives me crazy strength, and like I can just do whatever I want. So
It's
I don't
the
know.
shortcut. Do you watch The Boys?
I do watch The Boys.
Okay, so Soldier Boy, right, gets all about his dad in the last season, uh, and he never could get his dad's approval, and when he finally became Soldier Boy and did all these great things, his dad said, "What? Like, Oh, you took a shortcut.
Yeah.
So I think from the perspective of the Jedi, the only way to attain that oneness or the end goal of perfection or purity is through not having emotion and understanding peace, not showing ignorance and understanding knowledge. But in the end, do you have Force ghosts that are Exar Kun, right? Or you have Force
Yeah.
ghosts that are Qui-Gon Jinn. So there's definitely, I think, something for everyone on both sides, even in the afterlife before becoming one with the Force. Now, what does it mean to become one with the Force, and does following the Sith Code not allow you to do that? And I think there is some implication. I'd like to talk about that. That there's maybe some implication when Vader's mask is removed by Luke, and he says, "I have to save you." You already have, Luke. You already have. So, is there something deeper with this? It's more than just an ideal. I think for Jedi and Sith, it's their livelihood. It's what they are at their very core. Do you think what happened with Anakin and Qui-Gon and all them in that Force ghost kind of happy place? Do we know, and maybe I'm stepping out here, but do we know what it's like? Is it torment? Is it, crazy chaos for those that follow the Sith that are in the kind of in between?
I've never actually thought about that. We've kind of only been shown that like Jedi or people who die as Jedi get to become Force ghosts, right? But yeah, I don't know what happens to Sith. I mean, because eventually, we obviously see that the Jedi and the Sith, or the light side and the dark side. There is some type of perfect harmony between the two that the Force naturally wants to achieve, right? Like there can't be too many good, there can't be too many bad. We kind of had that talk a couple weeks ago about my gripe with the Kylo Ren and all that stuff. But I think it's interesting because I've never honestly thought about what happens to the Sith. I feel like in theory they would be able to have, or I don't know, maybe the Force doesn't allow them to become Force ghosts because maybe the Force. I've always, because what I always think when I'm looking at these two, I was like, there's clearly no right or wrong way. You know what I mean? And I'm not a gray Jedi code guy either.
No,
but I know George is like the good guys, like the Jedi. They are the good guys. They are who are supposed to win in theory. But it's like, I think the Sith would be able to have access to become Force ghosts or some type of entity within the Force to, I don't know, talk to future Sith or whatever. Because how else are they going to prolong their ideals?
Yeah, and when you have, I'm talking about Exar Kun again because we talked about him on the show, working his way, at least in Legends, around the Jedi Temple and trying to possess Luke. I have to think there's something more on that just hasn't been explored. Maybe it hasn't even been dreamt up yet. So I'd hate to think it hasn't been, but surely someone out there comes across this podcast and can contact us and let us know. Or Cam, you have an assignment for next week. You can go try to find out what the heck happens to a Sith when they're gone.
Yeah, because you have the people in the scholars that are Tolkien scholars basically, but we need some Force Star Wars scholars out there. I need to understand what the Force is, but I don't think anybody knows.
Here you go, Zane.
Miss you, Zane.
So Darth Zane will be back here in a minute. So pieces of light. I'll leave this up here for now. Let's talk about this because I don't think when people say the Sith Code and the tenets are, through passion I gain strength, through strength I gain power, through power I gain victory, through victory my chains are broken. That's the tenets of the code, right? But our introduction, which is the focus of the rest of our evening, is simply peace is a lie. There's only passion. It's like nice little executive summary to say this is what we have here now. This passion, blah blah. So, you haven't known very long today, and that's my fault. What our topic was, and I actually have all the shows ready for the next 6 weeks. Sorry about that, Cam. But what are it's not like you haven't ever pondered that peace is a lie, there's only passion. It's something I sign off with, and it's something I 95% believe is true. That true peace, there is no emotion, there is peace. I disagree with that. I think you can be objective, remove emotion, make a good decision, yes. But it's like when you hear, yes, I'm sorry that you're fired. It's just a business decision. I'm sorry. Yes, it's a business. Well, how about we get rid of you and keep two of us? No, I'm sorry. It's a business. There's no such thing as it's just business. Every single business decision that's made impacts a people. And so I live by that. So when I hear there's no emotion, there's peace, immediately, just in my experience, I'm like, nah, I can't. I disagree with that 90%.
No, I agree. I mean, Palpatine said in Revenge of the Sith, like you can't truly know the Force just through the dogmatic view of the Jedi, right? I mean, and there's that text I think I brought up a couple weeks ago about Dooku. It's like, you see it in business today too. Yoda wields his power. He's been training Jedi for hundreds of years. Oh, it's worked up to this point. The Sith are eradicated. We don't, there's no known Sith anymore, even though there is. They just can't see it, right? And they, I think through the Sith, right? I mean, conflict and those type of things that the Sith kind of chase, right? Like they can't stand the way the Jedi view things, like people fighting, people having emotion, people having lust, and just all these emotions. Like that's a part of what makes us, right? That's what makes beings in our world and in the fantasy world, And it's like the Sith can't comprehend the fact that the Jedi think there is no emotion. There's peace. It's like that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to them, because the Jedi have wants. They want to become one with the Force. They want to be a better Jedi. They want things, but it's so convoluted, and we really see that in the prequel era. I mean, Jedi at the height of their power, and there is a smoking barrel just right in front of them, and they can't see it.
There's no way that Yoda doesn't become complacent. No way.
No way. I mean, like it's like I said, we see it in business. It's like, well, I mean, we've gotten this worked for 40 years. Why would we change it now? You know what I mean? Like, we all see that.
What do you mean 8-track player? Yeah, no, but you're absolutely right. It's every day. So to your point, one of the things I like to use when I'm doing my coaching or actually supervising a team, I talk about how conflict is okay, and conflict is actually preferred when you're growing. And I like to compare it to a tree. If we look at the Jedi Code, and yeah, y'all can disagree with me and call me out, I don't care. That's what this is about, is having conversation. But if you plant a tree and go by the Jedi Code, what are you supposed to do to make that tree grow?
Yeah, the tree doesn't grow.
The tree doesn't grow. Now, we flip over to the Sith Code. Now, I don't do this part in my discussion with my coaching business,
You should.
but I do talk about conflict. When you plant a tree, the only way that tree is going to live is if it gets flooded, nearly drowned. The soil, it has to take its skin, its roots off its skin and scrape and tear and push and destroy the earth around it as it's being destroyed by the earth. Chaos, man, conflict constantly as it grows. There's everything from, wind and varmints and dogs pissing on them or whatever. It just keeps growing, and there's conflict. The tallest trees ever known to man. Imagine the years that it took for it to get as big as it did, yet the amount of conflict it had to endure to get to that, and it's still there. And it's actually something, when I see the Sith Code, that just excites me to think, no, I'm not going to go searching for conflict, but I know how important conflict is in growth. And when I read Pieces of Light is Only Passion, it piques my interest. Through passion, I gain strength. Oh, hello. We actually have intent. We have motive. We have a direction. We have a vision. We have a hell of a lot more than sitting on our butts in the middle of a freaking in the middle of Coruscant, all cushy chairs or hologram chairs or what. Sorry, I'm getting on a soapbox, man. I just
let it out.
I love it, man.
Let it out.
Sorry. Whew, I need some water.
I mean, conflict is what makes us. Changes in our life is what makes us. It's how you grow as a human. Like, I think the Jedi of the Old Republic, I don't know much about the High Republic, but the Jedi of old, I mean, they were in constant battle with the Sith, and clearly it showed them how what they didn't want to be like, or what they didn't want to happen, and they didn't want the galaxy to become under control of the Sith. But it's kind of like your tree analogy. I mean, they just sit up on Coruscant all day and train these 2-year-old, 3-year-olds that they took from their families, and it's just, you're indoctrinating is what it is, and you're kind of stunting the growth almost of what it means to know the knowledge of the Force. That's why I kind of like Legends Luke for a few reasons, obviously, but I think the fact that he encouraged his students to know about the dark side, maybe channel some part of the dark side, and I think I can't remember who it is, but I know there's one assassin or something, I think, that kills his son or something, but it was actually Han's kid, and it's the one time he pulls her back up when she's falling down, and he's like, if you're gonna die, you're gonna die by my hand, type deal. You know what I mean? And it's like that's what the Jedi of old were so just. I mean, they're just so there was never any way that they were going to achieve what Qui-Gon might have wanted them to achieve, what even Dooku might have wanted them to have been, and Yoda's. I mean, they're just the Jedi eventually become complacent because there is no growth without conflict. There is no. I mean, you have to like when conflict happens, like you adapt, like you have to change strategies. Like, oh, maybe this worked 5 years ago, but we got to do it this way. We're gonna graduate from DVD players to streaming or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
no, you're right. And you brought up Dooku and Obi-Wan. That was one of the what ifs I talk about. Is what if Obi-Wan joined Dooku? And you brought up Dooku earlier as well. Dooku left the Order not for conquest or what have you. It was a difference in ideology. It was an understanding that they had become complacent. It was an understanding that what they were doing was ignoring or turning a blind eye to things that were bad corruption, pirates, slavery, genocide. I mean, the list goes on, and the Republic had turned its back, which made it ripe for a revolution of sorts in a political sense, because that's essentially what happened.
Yeah.
But so when I go back to thinking about those moments, the moments when Dooku is approaching Obi-Wan, he's not approaching Obi-Wan as, I'm a Sith Lord and I need you to be my apprentice. He's approaching him as, I know that you were taught by Qui-Gon. I know that Qui-Gon and I felt very similar about a lot of things, and from what your old master tells me, you are on board with this too. So come join me. And it wasn't a weird, malevolent thing. I don't think. I think it was a genuine come to the correct side, if you will.
Yeah, well, I mean, even up to the point of his death, he's trying to convince Palpatine, like, maybe we, like, are you sure we don't want to take Obi-Wan? You know, like, if we can turn him too. I mean, we may not need Anakin, or it might even be easier to turn Anakin. You know what I mean? If we're able to turn Obi-Wan, and I mean, you can't fault Obi-Wan. He was so movie Obi-Wan, I will say, was so Jedi way or no way, you know. And I know in Clone Wars we kind of get a little bit more of a, is Obi-Wan really, you know, Jedi way or all the way? But I mean,
man, you know, he's got a little kid running around somewhere. We all know.
Oh, he's definitely got a little kid running around. But
couple, I mean, Anakin,
couple?
go do the Jedi thing, and I'm gonna have another drink or three.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Jedi, like, sending Anakin in Attack of the Clones to be guard for Padme. Like, I mean, the Jedi from the beginning set Anakin up for failure in so many ways that could be its own 6-part series. But
if Yoda was that wise and that great of a foreseer of things, always in motion, the future is like, yeah, I get that, but he was strong in his vision. So how did he? Why? I don't understand that. That's a great point. Like, what are you thinking? You're gonna put this alcoholic in a bar? Like, don't do that. Like, you know what's going to happen. That's terrible. Why would you set someone up for failure? Sorry, damn it.
Well, it's like his lack of questioning, in when Anakin kind of does the right thing and comes and confides in Yoda, and Yoda doesn't push. He's just like, just let it be. Just let it be. And you're like, this is the chosen one telling you that he is having, like what if those thoughts could have been of Obi-Wan versus Padme, you know? He's like, I don't want my master to go out the same way as Qui-Gon, you know? I don't want the Jedi Order to fall or all of that, you know? And I mean, Yoda, like any person that's been in power for too long, I mean, Yoda was borderline a dictator in terms of how the Jedi operated. And I think that's I mean, that's why he goes into exile. I think he accepts defeat, you know?
Yeah, Papa Palpatine was offering to nurture to nurture those things, understand those things he was feeling, listening to have you talk to them about your dreams. Like, yeah, he was a confidant of Anakin, and he didn't. Yes, there was some manipulation there, but as we've talked about before, there was a lot of influence that was built, a lot of rapport that was built, allowing that influence. Sorry, and when you look at that bigger picture of the seduction of the dark side, of Anakin to the dark side, that took place over a very long, a couple of years, and over those years, you have this guy who's struggling and broken, and the people who he works for essentially are saying, no, you got this, keep working. No time off, got to keep working. And then you have Palpatine saying, "Oh, come here, let's talk about this. I know you're struggling, and let me tell you about Darth Plagueis the Wise." So there's something about nurture in the Sith Code to me that is clearly absent to me in the Jedi Code.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, especially in terms of their code. There's no right or wrong. It's like how there has to be a form of like because like with the light side of the Force, clearly it makes you want to. There's Jedi are viewed as good people, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of how they practice, are they really good people? You
Mhm.
know? And with the Sith, it's like you get all of this, but eventually you fall to the corrupt nature of the dark side. And so it's like almost with these codes, it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It really you're
Yeah.
kind of set up for failure in both aspects, because one side you're a robot, the other side you get to kind of dip your toes into both, but eventually you succumb to the illness of the dark side of the force.
Yeah. The corruption physically in the legends, I don't know if they've made all this canon, but it physically distorted people over time, um, depending on how deep into the dark side you lived. And
Yeah.
I think kind of bringing that where we're at here back to pieces of lie. There's only passion. Um, it goes back to the conflict. It goes back to what we were just talking about. There is no such thing as quote unquote peace uh, in the sense I think that they're trying to play this. So there is no emotion, there's peace, and we've touched that. But I think you can isn't being in a state of peace or in a peaceful state that there is an emotion of content or an emotion of pleasantness, or I don't know how to word that. So I even from the get go, it just seems to me like it's a bunch of hooey or hokum. What do you mean? What do you mean? Because it makes sense to me that there really isn't a thing called peace. There's a thing called peace, but it doesn't really exist. And the only thing that really does exist is passion. Can we look through history and can we see that peace has always been destroyed by someone else's passion? Every war that we've ever had is about passion. Some side thinks that they should have or should not. Some other side should not have something, and it's about passion. Does that mean it's bad? Well, yeah. If you're starting wars, probably not a good idea. but but to live your life like a void of emotion, I just couldn't imagine, man. I mean, you see how pissed off I get just talking about the Jedi. I couldn't imagine looking at them objectively anymore because it's my experiences that brings my diversity to the table from where I'm from for this show. Your diversity to the table, whoever else we have on. So there's no such thing as this no emotion objectivity. It's impossible. We're human. Whew. Okay, I'm off this soapbox too now, Cam.
No, I mean, I've said it before. I think every like Obi-Wan showed visible emotion when Qui-Gon dies. You know, you think he wasn't fighting Maul with, and I'm sure there's probably a book or a comic that further explains that, but it's like he was swinging a little different when he came out of that door after Qui-Gon was dead.
Yeah.
And he's you know visibly crying, if I remember correctly. Uh, when he
Yeah.
passes, and I mean, clearly when he cuts Anakin, showing more visible emotion. Yoda losing Dooku to the dark side. You can't tell me he didn't feel a certain type of sadness for his apprentice falling to something that he taught him not to fall to. And it and Mace Windu, who's we could talk forever about the what's the word uh, contradictory of Mace Windu's role in the Jedi Order. You know, I mean, you can't be a robot void of emotion. That's not the way humans or people or beings operate. You know.
No, no, you're absolutely right. And my apologies for what's happening here with my. I've lost my camera.
All good.
So while that's sitting there, no, you're absolutely right, and I know.
Uh-oh. Oh, not focused. Well, guys, I guess we're going to wait till Dana comes back. I don't know where he is at. Hopefully he comes back soon. I'm back. There we go. Dane can't join for a bit at least. See if he sent me a message. We're going to get him back soon, guys. All right, well, while Dana's gone, if anybody is wanting, if you have not heard, 25th anniversary edition of Star Wars Legos has come out. And if you go to lego.com, you are able to pre-order the sets if you would like. I'm going to share my screen. Pre-order the Millennium Falcon, R2-D2 with the Malik.
Oh wait, hold on.
Here, but
Hold it. Oh my
back?
goodness, yo! Hold on, I might be. Gee,
I was showing chat the new Lego sets that came out. I was trying to fill the void.
man, this has been insane. Yo, dog.
Back.
Oh my goodness. All right, hold on. Let me kill
No
this.
more pre-Overwatch Overwatch pre-podcast with Zane again.
Right.
It broke his internet. It
You know
broke your
what?
setup.
Yeah, I should have rebooted. I didn't reboot. It's my fault. I should have rebooted. I usually do to clear everything out, but I was out of time, and I used Adobe Premiere for the intro outro while everyone was waiting on me to finish it.
All good.
So yeah, so one of the reasons, and I don't know that we've ever really discussed this, and I think this is a good time too. The question has come to me on several occasions of why the Sith Dominion, why do you want to talk about this stuff in this way from the show? And it's no secret. I have not made it a secret how much I really dig Darth Vader. We've talked about it, and we'll keep talking about it forever because Darth Vader is amazing. But it's because I think a lot of times we collectively, the royal we, everyone, tend to have preconceived notions because of something looking scary or sounding scary or what have you. And yes, dude, Darth Vader straight up walking in to the Corvette and throwing people side to side and Commander, tear the ship apart. Yeah, like that's scary. And then you see Obi-Wan for the new generation where he takes that kid and straight up like amazing. Yeah, okay. But he let it corrupt him. Like you got to walk a line like Mace Windu. There's nothing wrong with understanding both sides of the coin. So I my whole life have followed that path. Everything that I do in business, there's people that used to work for me that would absolutely tell you, no, Dana, you're like the emperor. You lay everything out, and then you just start putting the pieces together to get to where you want to go to do what you need to do. And it hasn't always worked that way. It's something that I've learned to do, but honest, it's not like I sit there and like, oh, what's the Palpatine book playbook say? It's not like that. But it certainly is with the understanding that influence is super important. And the Sith were able to influence in many cases that we've talked about. There was influence and not manipulation. When we're talking about Darth Revan and Darth Malak, when we're talking about Darth Revan and Treya and the two, the other two that she helped. Gosh darn it, Nihilus. Like help Nihilus maintain some level of sanity and was able to. There's passion in that and compassion in that. Yeah, she had uses for him, but if you remember, the Triumvirate was a little different than what Rule of Two and the way that the Sith are displayed and portrayed today. Kreia had other thoughts. I think Dooku had other thoughts. So I have other thoughts, and I don't believe that we can look at something in a very dogmatic way, in a very strict black or white way, like the Sith, and just disavow anything else that they've done, or in their code or in their ideology. We just dismiss it because whatever. If that's the case, because they kill people, then we have to go back to the whole Luke Skywalker killing 300,000 people in one shot. So it can't be about body count because you lose Jedi every time. Sorry, that's soapbox down. So that's why Sith. And the reason I say pieces of lie, there's only passion. That's how I sign off. Because the first thing I said is something ridiculous. Don't go to episode 1 and don't fast forward to the end. Watch the whole show and then just don't listen to the end. But my sign off was terrible and I'll never say that again. So I'm not telling you now. But pieces of lie, there's only passion. And it's because it's true. It's the beginning of the Sith Code. It's the beginning of the tenets of the Sith Code. It stands alone on its own virtue. And that's the last part we want to talk about. That statement stands alone on its own virtue. And that's why I say it. It's like an amen in a way. Let it be so. Well, so say we all. If you're a BSG fan, we need a Battlestar Galactica podcast. Sorry, that was not for this show. So yeah, stand alone. Peace is a lie. There's only passion. It's a sentence. It's a comma space, or it's a semicolon space. Either way, it's one statement, and the ideology, I think, is summed up within that statement. It stands alone. So that's why Sith, that's why the show's the way it is, and that's why the sign-off is what it is. Cam, do you believe that statement can stand alone? And if so, or if not, why not?
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think a lot of us have always leaned to the Sith in some way. Maybe I always hold the notion that people think they're a little bit better than they are. And I think the Jedi thought that they were a little better than they actually were. I mean, think of how many people that they killed, misplaced, made suffer through not only bringing children into their ideology, but just the Clone Wars. The fact that they, like Dooku said, they weren't able to help slaves and those type of things. I mean, the Jedi are almost a sense of like they're they're the strict parent that doesn't let you make mistakes. You got to be perfect. You got to be perfect at all times. When mistakes are a part of life, that's how you learn. That's how you grow. I mean, you should be allowed to make mistakes and fail and learn how to get back up and how to go again and not have to be this perfect being that you're never ever going to be, and I mean, I love the Sith. I mean, I think Revan's a good example of how one can achieve true balance in both sides of the Force and can tap into both and reach the pinnacle of both sides almost, and they're just more relatable. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the Sith are more relatable to how we are in our own lives. They're the Sith of these video games we play, the Sith of books of old legend and all of that. I mean, they do a perfectly good job of being human in maybe
Mm-hmm.
like an inhuman type world. And you can't I think the prequels show the fact, when you see Darth Vader at the beginning of the OT, you're like, who is dark, this tall black being? Like, who's this guy in the suit? And you find out it's this farm kid's dad, and you're like, well, they're complete opposite ends of the spectrum. And then you see how he gets to that point, and
Yeah.
you're like, well, he was born to fail.
Mm-hmm.
He was never given any type of tools to succeed. And clearly, I mean, he did make his own decisions at the end of the day, obviously, but for a good reason. He wanted to save his wife.
Yeah. I
And
understand that.
yeah, I mean, everybody would want to do. They would do anything that they would do to save a loved one, to save, whether that's spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, family, or whatever. It just makes sense. And the long-winded answer, but I
No,
agree.
so here's the thing, like, if I could take a page from Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid, like balance, Daniel said, right? The Force needs balance. You need balance, and I I feel like there's an attempt to strive or journey towards some sort of balance, not peace, just some balance that the Sith continually do. There's in all the stories, save a handful, they're not just psycho whacked out psychopaths that try to kill her, but like it's just not what it is, and it's a misconception. And
Yeah.
When you look at the way that Vader is portrayed and the growth of the character development, you have to understand that there is a level of something within him that had him fixated on being within the realm of the dark side. Like there had to be something. And then we find out in the prequels, oh, that's what, well, that makes sense because dudes will do silly stuff like that, like kill for their women. I don't know what that's about. Like a caveman, something. I don't know. But it's not what this show's about. But when I see that, it's just amazing to me that you see the growth and development of a character through all that, and then we see the Jedi. They're just sitting there. They're what growth? Are you gonna go read some more in the library? Like that's their growth. Not that that's bad. I mean, we need researchers and we need people to read, but
Yeah.
I mean, I read too, but you know what I mean. That's their pathway to growth, training, and that there is no, I think, real tactile. You can't have peace. If you have peace, then you're not growing. You're stagnant. That's just the way I'm interpreting this.
Oh, I mean, well, and this may be a topic for future episodes, or if we talk about Anakin again or whatever. But it's like when they read the prophecy, right? There will be one that will bring balance to the Force. What did they think balance was? Because clearly, I mean, if they think it's only the light, well, if you have the little pendulum or whatever it is, I mean, it's like Thanos has. It's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Everything's in the middle. It's not one side. It's not the other side. That'd be out of balance. It's all in the middle. So clearly, the one that would bring balance to the Force would have a little bit of both.
How
It made sense.
arrogant, narcissistic for the Jedi to think that balance meant them. That just hit me. Mace, isn't he supposed to be the one that brings balance to the Force? Yeah, maybe, but that doesn't mean you're a part of that.
Yeah.
Like
No,
how
I mean,
arrogant they were, right?
yeah, I mean, they did misread the prophecy. Qui-Gon might have read the prophecy correctly because he was able to look at it from a different perspective, from a different point of view. And in the Jedi, you can't have different perspectives. You can't have other people's thoughts. There is only one way of thinking, right? Like it's it's so just not relatable.
And I think it's a shame we didn't get more Qui-Gon, because I really would be able to relate more to him than I could Obi-Wan, at least in the first two movies. In the third movie, I could relate much more to Obi-Wan, but Qui-Gon was head and shoulders like, yeah, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not going to do that because I don't think that's right, and I'm not afraid to tell you it's not right. And if that means I'm not going to, you'd be a master. You'd be on the council if you just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't. I don't know what you want me to. You want me to turn my back on who makes me me? No way.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you think Qui-Gon, we'll go back to a what if real quick. Do you think Qui-Gon would have joined Dooku if the timing was different?
I don't think. I mean, I don't think the instinctive answer is yes. I think it's more of like he might. He might have. I think in the long game, he probably would have eventually came over to his side.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think if you put him in Obi-Wan's shoes that he immediately goes. I think it's more of like I don't know. I mean, it could honestly go either way. I mean,
I don't see him like, okay, yes, I pledge
yeah,
myself to
yeah,
your teachings. Like, no, I think in I believe I don't know what the timing was, and I don't recall. I think they talked about it in Visions. Could be wrong, but there's an episode of Qui-Gon and Dooku. I just don't remember if in that episode they talk about that or not. Where like the timing of when he was already under the influence of Palpatine.
it was after. Well, he was talking with Palpatine because I mean he was kind of playing double agent. He was kind of talking with Palpatine and warning the Jedi that a darkness was coming, but it wasn't until um, after Qui Gon dies that the Yaddle scene and all that in front of the tree and all that stuff
Yeah.
happens. So because it's like he goes to Palpatine and he's like, "You've gone too far," and Palpatine's like, "Well, I lost an apprentice and so did you. It's just fair, you know."
Mm-hmm.
like an even trade. I mean, I think in some form or way, Qui Gon would try to. He would meditate, obviously, on it for a long time and just follow whatever the Force wants him to do and what he thinks the Force wants him to do, because that's kind of, I think, how the way Qui Gon operated. You know.
So this might be a little controversial, but tell me what you think. Peace is a lie. There's only passion.
No, it's not. It's not
Over here.
controversial.
Over here, you have, is he the one? I'm interpreting that he is the one.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be safe to say that without cautiously starting to move towards the code of the Sith, he was at least turning away in that moment when he decided to go against and train him on his own? When he decided to go against the council, I believe maybe he was turning his back more on the Jedi code, not necessarily turning towards the Sith code.
Yeah, I mean, Qui-Gon, I would think, would say he served the will of the Force.
Yeah.
Whatever the will of the Force was, is what Qui-Gon was going to do. You know, if they beat Darth Maul, I mean, he's leaving the Jedi Order to go train Anakin, to mold him into, to give him everything that he can through the Force, in terms of what the Force can give Qui-Gon to teach to Anakin, to make him to fulfill the prophecy. You know, and instead of what we got, which is a couple roadblocks and a couple falls and up and down. But eventually, he fulfills the prophecy, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Qui-Gon's such a. I mean, I never watching those, and I didn't even think about how big of a death he was until the Dave clip when the Mandalorian stuff came out and Dave was talking about it. I'm like, man, there really was a lot more depth to maybe not the best movies, but now you're looking at it, I'm like, man, those movies just that is Star Wars. Like,
I see a lot of Obi-Wan in Kanan, quite frankly. Kanan, I thought, was very attuned. Well, became very attuned to the Force, and would make decisions based on, I know what's right by the Jedi, but I also know in this moment, like the Bendu or whatever, like this isn't stuff the Jedi would be messing around with. And I think for the story, it needed to be there. But the way they wrote Kanan, I really would associate him more with that type of ideology. The difference being, he's going at it alone, a lot like Luke had to.
Yeah.
Whereas Qui-Gon had all he was that, what do you call it? I forget the word. Privileged. There you go. He had all the stuff that Kanan didn't. But they still, I believe, were very attuned in a specific way to the Force where they felt like they would do what the Force was commanding regardless.
I agree, which I mean, not to get on my soapbox again here, but that's just it makes that's why with what we've gotten recently, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
The direction they're heading. Of course, I do like that scene where Luke goes like, the sacred Jedi texts, and Yoda's like, oh, read them, have you? And that's always a funny scene.
Okay,
like,
but
did he read them? I don't know.
So here's my problem with the sacred Jedi text. Lucas created a world where there was no paper, and that was like a thing. So the fact that they didn't pull this paper out of nowhere, I'm just like, it took me out of the movie the moment I saw a book, because I know, and I grew up with, there is no such thing as paper in the Star Wars universe. Well, there is now because we just wrote it in.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Sorry. So the sacred Jedi text, I'm jaded. Like, I can't talk about it because that's all I see is paper. Sorry, man.
No,
damn it.
I agree. I mean, that's why I don't think, and of course we have the Legends books to go off of, but I don't think with the Luke we see in Return of the Jedi, I don't see him with sort of gaining the knowledge that he was able to gain from Obi-Wan's hut and certain things or whatever. Trying to do the same thing that the Jedi of old did, which clearly didn't work, and he knew why it didn't work because it failed his father. Why would he do something that failed his father?
Exactly.
So that doesn't make any sense because Luke was passionate. Luke was passionate about saving his father. That was the whole point of 3 movies. So.
Yeah, there was a moment, we all know it, in ROTJ where I think he really tiptoed that line, and it was right there where he was just just hammering. And he's got his dad, Vader, down on the ground and cuts off his hand or whatever. He wasn't tiptoeing through the tulips there, man. He was straight up pissed. And it wasn't like pissed like you're going to kill me and I'm going to defend myself. It was, I'm passionate about my sister, about my family, about my friends, and I will do whatever to protect them. And that's sometimes how it starts, isn't it, Anakin?
Yeah.
Like you said, we can relate to characters who have flaws. And I think the Jedi are portrayed as being flawless or believing themselves to be. Like they could be, I think, equated to, like, in the biblical sense, like the Pharisees and Sadducees, right? Like they were up here and they're just looking down, like, no, we'll tell you what to do, we'll help you out, everything's gonna be fine, don't worry about, nah, who's this other, nah, don't worry about that, you know. I think I kind of equated to that, and they got complacent and then challenged anything that challenged them.
Well, conflict is good. Different perspectives is good. That's the natural course of life. If only we could like take like the last like 10 minutes and send it to Lucasfilm in 2012 and be like, hey, here's just a helpful little
Here you go,
tidbit
man.
of-
Hey,
here you go.
I'll be a Sith
Yeah.
consultant. There we go.
There you go. You know, maybe actually get some people in there that, you know, are passionate about the story you're trying to tell and the world you're trying to expand. But that would make too much sense. So
You know, I find it interesting in this sense of time. Time is the same in the Star Wars universe as it is here. A year essentially is a year, roughly. And when you look at the lifespan of those that have had opportunities like Palpatine, they have to do things to keep themselves alive because we only get 100 years, you know? And so the amount of conquest or the amount of just success for accomplishing their vision, the Sith in their short lifespans, and a lot of times it's cut short because, yeah, their apprentice kills them.
yeah.
So much is accomplished though, and you know, what do you accomplish over 3 movies? All y'all accomplished to do is sit on your ass and talk about where you needed to go or what you needed to do. The Jedi. Whereas the Sith were literally taking over. They were moving, they were shaking, they weren't just resting on their laurels. And peace is a lie. If you really break that down, what's going to make you successful? Sitting around thinking, oh, it's peace and quiet, it's great. No, you're going to just stagnate and die. Go do something. Be passionate about something. I got a TikTok. I'm starting to go off again. You're going to have to stop me, Cam. I got a TikTok. I don't know which one it is. Just scroll. You'll find it. But I'm talking about that. I'm talking about how you got to be passionate. I think it was like a rainy day or whatever. And it's like, so what? You're alive. You're breathing. Let's go. Let's do this. You got to be passionate. You would always see Kiale Moon. I can never say his name, but he's just kind of yes, we are going to be taking over the battle at the, like, shut up. What are you talking about? And then you have Qui-Gon, right? Qui-Gon, who turns his back, in our opinion, and he's like, then I'll train him myself. I'll do what I have to do to make sure that we see this through. There's heads and tails difference. One is on the council and was allowed to be on the council because, like you said, he subscribed to and followed the rules that the Jedi put out, and whatever the Jedi say, that's gold. You challenge that status quo, and what happens? You don't get on the council. You end up turning into Darth Vader because you're on the council, but you're not a master. But there's passion. That's the point, right? There's if you don't have passion for anything, what are you doing, man? Wait.
You can't go. I mean, if you want something, you got to go get it. That's how the world is, you know, and that's how I think Star Wars world is too. If you're passionate about becoming more attuned with the Force, well, you're gonna have to go learn more about the Force than what the Jedi are telling you. You know, you're gonna have to go learn more. You're gonna have to go want it. You're gonna have to want to do something, you know. So.
Yeah, I may not subscribe to certain, let's say, political views or what have you, governments, but that does not keep me from reading about said types of forms of government and or isms. And so I think it's important from a human perspective. We do have a short amount of time, and it's important that we enjoy ourselves, we enjoy our lives. But in order to do that, It's much better when you're on the growing side than whenever you're on the stagnant side. I think that's whenever you get the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Right? That was a huge sequoia tree in the Jedi Order, and it was chopped down hard because the sequoia never knows it's coming. Neither did the Jedi. So I think using the tree analogy to sum it all up is important too, because in the end, if you can see it coming, I don't know if you know this. There's some research out there that trees will actually sprout up stuff to like help protect itself, like just weird stuff, man. Trees are sometimes they walk. There's some videos on the dark web, but yeah, trees.
Yeah. No, I mean, so if you're only around people that have the same viewpoint as you, if you're just surrounded, like if you're in a bubble, you're not ever gonna grow and be the person you're meant to be. Surround yourself with people that have different ideas, perspectives, desires, passions. That's what's gonna really show you that the world and everything around us is so much bigger than us and the 5 people we're really close to. So
yeah, I got cut off, which happens very rarely now in my car because everyone likes my car and they just go up and down and take pictures. It's a nice ego stroke. I'm not gonna lie.
no, it's sick. It's a sick car, not the stroke your ego more, but it's a sick car.
Thank you. I end up, guy cut someone off. Whatever happened, it was unintentional, and the dude kind of, and then he kind of notices the car, and he's like, oh, okay, whatever. Point is, in that moment, like that dude doesn't know that I'm Dr. Dana Martin of the Sith Dominion, and actually, there's 3 people watching right now that do know who Dr. Dana Martin is, but outside of those 3 people, nobody knows who I am, and it doesn't matter. It's not like I was thinking, who does he know who I am? It's more, he's the star of his universe. This person I'm the star of my universe. You're the star of your universe. You're just like co-hosting here, but you're the star of your show, right? And I'm the star of this show, but then I go on MCU and I'm nobody. I'm just I don't know what you guys are talking about. Echo, what's that? So yeah, this dude, this is his story that he's living. This is his life he's living, and this is his drama, his movie.
Yeah.
Who am I to try to take away center stage in his movie? Now, if he comes to me and asks me, "Hey, let's both be co-stars in this movie," then maybe I'll help and I'll be a co-star. But understand that every single person on this earth only has, so much time. And every single person is never going to know who you are. And you're not going to know every single person. So at the end of the day, who are the people that you know? Who are the connections that you've made? And have you shown them your passionate you, the passionate you that makes shit happen, the passionate you that kicks ass every day, the passionate you that gets up in the morning even though you don't want to, but you know you got to, that passionate person. The Sith did that. That's what the Sith were about. Passion. Peace is a lie. There's only passion. Next week, through passion, I gain strength. We're going to hit the very first tenet of the Sith Code. We're going to talk about through passion, I get straight. So here we started really going down the passion pathway. Oh, that sounds... I'm never saying that again here in the last few minutes. But this is what we're leading off with next week is passion. So I would like to, if you want to take a little assignment for the week, Cam, and try to find out if what we were talking about there at the beginning, what was that? The Sith. What happens to Sith when they die? Like, are they just oblivion or one with the Force or what?
Yeah, no,
we gotta figure that out.
I'm gonna look it up.
It'll be fun. We'll have a new segment. What did Cam learn? Yeah. Thank you guys. Zane, sorry. His last comment. I'll show that. Yeah, he wasn't gonna do it. He wasn't gonna be able to play.
Yeah, Hey guys,
You probably
please
can't play either.
please like and subscribe to give good
Yes.
vibes to not only the channel and the multiple other podcasts that are and all the content for GNN, but we gotta get good vibes to Zane's internet.
Yes,
Like
Zane's internet.
like
Awesome.
yeah,
Terrible. Oh,
likes
it
and
never
subscribes
went
are
up.
gonna
Yes, liking and subscribing helps the algorithm, which allows us to maybe help Zane get better internet.
yes.
So next week we're going to be doing passion. Next week, I'm going to attempt to do something crazy. So if you're listening to the podcast, tune in to TikTok and the Sith Dominion TikTok and Geek News Now official on YouTube or on Facebook, wherever we're broadcasting this, because I'm going to have like a dual broadcast. I'm going to broadcast us broadcasting, but on TikTok. Something. I'm going to try to do that, and I'm going to talk it up. So if you have TikTok, you can watch us there next week as well. It's not going to be exactly like this because it'll be just a phone, whatever. You'll see. But yes, every Wednesday, all of our previous shows go up to all your favorite places to listen to podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, which is going away. I was just told it's going into YouTube Podcasts. FYI, PSA. Tune in. They are working on MCU Mondays. They've been going over Echo. They just did episode 2, I believe, last week or yesterday. I know that Geek Gauntlet is on Saturdays. We have Thursday is Cantina Happy Hour. I don't know what they're working through on Cantina Happy Hour. If someone knows out there, put it in the message. Point is, there's something for everyone. If you go to geeknewsnow.net, you're going to find all sorts of stuff from anime to Star Trek to Star Wars. And actually, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but John is one of our other podcasters. He does the War of the Stars pod. No, he doesn't. That's Mark. Shoot. What is this podcast? I can't. Lightsabers and Captain's Logs and Lightsabers. Oh, yeah, I got it. Captain's Logs and Lightsabers. And so we're maybe going to talk about some stuff. I might jump on that show too. So that'd be awesome. And I know we'll try to get Jonathan on as well. That was a mouthful. That was a lot, but I need to make sure I pay the bills. I got to say everything. Like and subscribe. Seriously, folks, it helps so much. Yeah. Cam, any closing thoughts? Any parting shots?
Oh, just like and subscribe. Zane's internet's going to be better next week, and tune in next week to see our resident TikToker, Dr. Dana.
Yeah, and Cam with finding out if Sith just dissipate when they die. Who knows? We'll find out. Anyways, listen. It was a great show. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Zane. And we are out. Remember, kids, peace is a lie. There's only passion.